Hello friends, this is Pastor Richard. I am so thankful to the King and to the Crown Prince and the authorities that allow us to live here in Saudi. We are honored and we respect that. The Bible talks a lot about sin, and the problem in the world is that God is holy and no man or woman is. All of us are sinful. And the great questions of the world's religions are, how can man and women be reunited with God? God is holy and we are sinful, and there's a great gulf between us. How can sin be removed? If you're from a different culture, you understand different components of the problem of sin. You see, the first sinners were Adam and Eve, the father and mother of all of mankind. And when they sinned, many things happened. Number one, they were guilty. Number two, they were ashamed. And number three, they were afraid. Now, if you happen to come from a Western country or from Europe, you understand sin the way that you were brought up in terms of guilt and innocence. And that's true. That before you sinned, you were innocent. It's like the law. And you broke the law, and now you are guilty before the law. And so from our orientation, our understanding of how we take care of the problem of sin from those of us from the West are in this paradigm of guilt and innocence. We were innocent, we fell from innocence, now we're guilty, and we need some legal way to be made innocent again. So that's the approach of guilt and innocence. If you're from Africa, many times you understand sin through the consequences that demonic powers and curses and trouble can come into your life or your family because you're no longer in the Garden of Eden. You're no longer under the protection of Jesus. And so you understand the consequence of fear and the desire to be saved from fear. In other words, to have power over fear. And so sometimes, and this is also true about the gospel, that sin makes us afraid, and the gospel gives us power over sin. In the same way that the gospel gives us innocence over our guilt, the gospel gives us power over our fear. If you're from Asia, or from the Middle East, or from Saudi Arabia, you understand that when you sin, it brings shame. It brings shame to yourself. It brings shame to your family. It brings shame to the community. And from that shame, you need rescue. And the gospel gives us honor. And Jesus comes and says, yes, what that person did was shameful, but that person is attached to me. And because I am completely honorable, and this sinful person has been brought into relationship with me, now they have honor. And the gospel gives us honor. So there's many, many different problems from sin. Sin makes us guilty. Sin makes us ashamed. And sin makes us afraid. But you know what Jesus does through the gospel? By the cross and dying for those sins and then rising from the dead to show that he was the living God that has power over sin and death and the curse. Where we were guilty, he declares us innocent. And where we were afraid, he gives us power. And where we were ashamed, he gives us honor. Oh, this is why we love Jesus, and this is the power of the gospel. Innocence and power and honor because of who Jesus is and because of what Jesus has done. I'm so thankful for the gospel today, and may the good news, which is what the word gospel means, may the good news of the innocence and the power and the honor that comes from the gospel, from Jesus, may it spread through all of Saudi Arabia and beyond.